Hey guys, what's up?
Hi.
Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining the live today. My name is Chef Abyssinia and I'm your host for Food for Foodies. So our goal for today is basically to touch on chef life. We're also going to touch on catering 101 and cooking with marijuana. So some background on myself, I have been cooking for over 10 years. Haven't gotten tired of it yet. And during this quarantine time, I just wanted to take some time to give back some helpful information and advice to aspiring hospitality professionals, someone like me who's always looking to learn, or someone who's just trying to get their foot in the door and doesn't know where to start. So today we have lovely chefs, Amanda and Chef Alain.
Hi.
Hello.
So some background on Chef Amanda. She is an amazing chef. She's also a business owner, a mentor to young aspiring chefs, and she has been featured on Netflix's new series Cooking with Cannabis. You'll find her in episode 1. Woo-hoo! So congratulations on that. And we have Chef Alain here, another amazing chef. He's also a business owner. He owns a catering company. He's an executive chef to a catering company along with a partner to another catering company. He is a world traveler. He's also a teacher. He's cooked in James Beard House, and he's also cooked for South Beach Food and Wine Festival. Is that right?
Yes.
So welcome, guys. What have you guys been up to during this quarantine? I know it's a crazy time for everyone, but what have you guys been up to?
Okay, go ahead, Chef Amanda.
I was like, no, Chef Alan, you go first. Tell me what you know.
Okay. Okay, I'll be honest. When the shutdown started, I was like, you know what, just gonna chill, relax. Then I realized, the more I stay away from it, the more I'll be away from people's eyes. So we decided to take on a different challenge. Our business structure is more so catering to parties, corporate events, weddings, and stuff like that. We do small private events also, one-on-ones, stuff like that. But we decided that since we can't bring ourselves, since people can't have the party, well, why don't we bring the food to them so they can still celebrate home? So we decided to go into that direction. We provide some family meals throughout the week, and we also are now starting doing packaged frozen goods. So we already season them, already cooked, and we just ship it to wherever the person is, as long as they're ready to pay for shipping.
Wow, that's amazing. What's the name of your business?
Sensory Delights.
Chef Amanda, what have you been up to? Sorry to put you guys on the spot.
Through quarantine, just like Seth wrote, I smoked a lot of weed. I've smoked a lot of weed. I've actually been experimenting with more recipes. Like, I still do a lot of recipe writing, so I'm still working, and I'm actually working a bit more. We're also doing Zoom classes because also in quarantine, this came out, and my team and I worked on the Duro Keto Fusion diet. So, like, I did recipes for that, and then my food stylist Rose did like all the food styling and that kind of stuff. So, like, we're still pushing that. We're still doing like Zoom classes, making cannabis oils, making more cannabis products. Like, people are getting into mycelium too, and like really understanding more about magic mushrooms and how fungi work in general. So I've been learning more about that. And I'm in the middle of getting my yoga teacher training done. So like, I've actually been really busy.
Yeah.
Like bettering myself shit before pandemic started.
Both of you guys, like when Chef Alain, like you said, when this first started, of course I was panicking because I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to get income? But then as it set in, I was like, okay, well, this could be a reset. This could be a time for me to just focus on myself and take a breather. But at the same time, I started getting more creative. I started a YouTube channel, so I have cooking videos out. I created a food blog called foodforfoodies.com. So you can go online there and find recipes, and then I'm basically giving recipes, cooking, like insightful tips for everyday life, and I'm sharing personal stories on there. So that's something that I got into. And then I also do live cooking classes, not live cooking classes, online cooking classes, because I am the owner of a personal chef and catering company, and myself and my team, we basically went to our client's home. So now that we can't do that, I was like, okay, what can I do to replace that? So now we just offer our services online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw your update to the website. Very smart, and you were quick moving with it too. Like addressing COVID, I've noticed a lot of chefs, like a lot of private chefs, have not necessarily addressed it. Like I'm not currently working, so it's not. I'm not addressing it on my website because I'm not working. Like I'm just trying to develop it. But I noticed a lot of chefs who are still working. Like I thought that was very smart.
Thank you. I gotta give a shout out to my mom on that one, because she was one of the first to tell me. She's like, everyone's sending out newsletters. This was when it first started. So then that's what I did. And then I started seeing more and more people have it on their website. And so, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mama.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's get into it. Let's get into the business. Everyone is here. Guys, everyone who's watching, please do ask questions. We want this to be very interactive. We will answer as many questions as we can get to. So yeah, let's get into the groovy. So
Yeah.
Chef Alain, let's start with Catering 101. Like, what's the business? I want to know, how do you go about marketing? How do you go about pricing, meal planning, finding clients, putting yourself out there? Like, give us the goods.
Okay. All right. So first and foremost, I just want to tell people that the key thing to always keep in mind: catering is no joke. People always want to jump into catering, but they don't make the research, they don't put the thought behind it, because it's so different than the restaurant life. There's so many things that are involved. There are 5 things that I always tell people to consider before they even start to get into catering business. The number one thing is gain catering experience.
Okay.
The worst thing you can do to yourself is dive right into catering without having no knowledge about the field, about what it takes, the sacrifices, the time, the marketing behind it. You might end up crashing before you rise, and it might take you a good time to rise because you're learning on your own versus getting the experience from another company, where you're learning and you're getting a feel of what it takes, the strategies, the logistics, and all that stuff. So number one is always make sure you gain some experience before you launch by yourself. The number two thing I say, get your things in order, right? So what I mean by getting your things in order is like before you even start doing a catering business, you'll need a catering license, and you also need to get approved by the Department of Health for whatever facilities that you're using. Is it safe to use? Number three thing, getting your crowd's attention. That's where the marketing comes in. So how are you attracting people to come to get your business? And how are you doing to retain those people that come? The best people are the repetitive customers. So you always have them whenever there's something going on. You're the first person they call. Or if you have a contract with a corporate company, you're always the one that they reach out to handle whatever parties, events that they're doing. Social media is free to an extent, and unless you want to pay for ads, but it's pretty much your free marketing tool. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even WhatsApp, Snapchat, YouTube, all these are tools that you can use to promote your business, to put your business out there. And one thing also people always fail to take into consideration is Google.
Yeah.
Creating a Google page, making sure that your business is registered on Google as a business. Even if you don't have a physical place, you just have a kitchen that you use, but you don't have a brick and mortar, but you have a Google account that people can just, when they're searching for a business similar to yours, you will pop up, and you have your content in it, your pictures, your reviews. So that will also attract people, because people like to see reviews, they like to see pictures, so they can get a feel for the work that you have.
Yes.
Number 4 thing, I would say paying attention to your competition. Yes, we're in competition with ourselves, but there are also people out there that are doing the same thing that you're doing. There might be some similarities, there might be some differences, but you want to make sure that you're up to date with what's going on out there. You want to keep up with the trends, making sure that you're not still doing things that are dated back to the 1980s and we're in the 2020. So
how do you do that?
I would say, YouTube is a great tool. Paying attention to people, like, let's say your business model is wedding, so you want to search the keywords that match what you do, like weddings. You go on Instagram and you hashtag wedding receptions, and you will see examples of what other people are doing out there. I'm not telling you to just go and just take it and run with it with whatever you're doing, but that's your inspiration right there to better yourself in your business. These things are very essential, because once somebody reaches out to you, they're not only reaching out to you, reaching out to different people. So you want to make sure that you also stand out, and that they cannot say, okay, this guy is like so old school. This is not what we're doing. People are trying to do things differently these days. They want to have a different type of experience, and you want to make sure that you're keeping up with what's going on. But at the same time, stay true to who you are as a business. Like your business core model, your story, what your brand represents, make sure you stay true to that. And I say the last part is, what do catering business have in common? You have talent, planning, and flexibility. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't know how to plan and you can't be flexible, you're not going to be able to succeed. So all these 3 things have to apply for you to be a very successful catering company. And also time and patience.
Yeah, time and patience, that's a big one. Don't give up.
Yeah, because at first we tend to try to be like, oh man, things are not coming as fast as I want them, and we want to rush the process. While you try to rush the process, you can end up messing up, your brand identity, what you represent. So you don't want to dilute your product. You want to stay true to it. Be patient. Trust the process.
Yeah, definitely. So it seems like everything that you're saying, it involves a lot of planning. You have to know you have to have a goal and focus on it and do your research behind it. Everywhere with anything that you want to do, you have to have experience, or at least get training. So learn from a professional. Like, even though we all graduated from JWU, by the way. Woo-hoo!
Yes.
But I know for myself, like, even before I went to college, I was working in kitchens learning. And then even throughout college, aside from my internship, I was still working in kitchens learning.
Yes.
And my internship. So it's like you have to learn a lot before you can just jump out and go out on your own.
Yeah. Yes. It's like when you're in school, it's so different than the real world, because you end up has perfect environment when you're in school.
Yeah.
There's always the maintenance guys are always there.
Yeah.
Whatever you purchase, whatever the procurements you did for the store, they're already there. So there's no glitches.
You don't
You're in the
have a
perfect.
chef or a chef
Yeah.
yelling at you, cursing at you to send you out the food. You're not burning shit and breaking dishes and like.
You don't have people falling out on you. So you have all these perfect situations. And once you go out in the world, you have to be able to learn from a real environment, because if especially if you never worked in the kitchen before, because it'll be fast for you to be like, wow, this is so not what I was expecting.
Yeah. Chef Amanda, before you went off to the personal chef, private chef thing, did you do any type of catering and restaurant work and all that?
I started in restaurants when I was 17. My first job was at a wing shack with my cousin, with my godbrother and his wife. So I started in wing shack. I went to UGA because I thought I was going to go to school, and then I transferred out to Johnson and Wales, and I started working in restaurants for real then. Like I was working like a server, bartender, manager, did all that stuff. When I went to culinary school, that's when I moved back a house. So like I worked from dishwasher up until I left that place when I was chef de cuisine. I went to Florida and I worked weddings, catering, large type stuff down at Honey Lake Plantation Resort. And then I left there and got my first exec position. So before I went private, I was exec. Like, and even now, like we do catering. Like what he was saying about Google is very serious, but the way that I do catering as a private chef, typically I team up with people like Chef Alain. And like I will write recipes, use their team depending on who the client is. But that's like if you see me work with YouTube and that's basically what I do is like I write recipes, I curate a menu, we'll plan this entire event based on what they want to do, but then I team up with a large caterer and I'll bring my Chef Alain the recipes and we'll work together to like coordinate staffing and all that kind of stuff. So like it's a lot easier for me to move working with like him because of having experience. So what he was saying about go to work is absolutely right. Because like I wouldn't be able to do the stuff I do without having work first. But like I definitely was in the industry for 11, 12 years before I got out.
Okay.
So we do have a question here from Leslie. She wants to know how did we get the capital to start your business, like for kitchen rental and licenses and that's a great question.
Okay.
What do you guys think of that?
I would say licenses and stuff like that. That's not like a huge investment that you like. It doesn't like. For example, I'll let you know. Down in South Florida, we have Sunbiz, which is where you register your business annually, and it's $125 every year. So basically, $12.50, less than $12.50 a month, right? So you account for that. And then getting the place. So if you're using a shared kitchens are so popular where it helps you reduce your overhead costs. So you would have to pretty much see where how much it would cost you. Then she said what else again? She said okay, kitchen rental licenses. Okay. So what I always suggest is if you're taking a leap to go into a different sector or start something new, make sure that you do your research way ahead of time and start saving while let's say that you want to become a caterer, but you are, let's say, and I've seen it happen, like you're a nurse, you want to switch to becoming a caterer. While you're doing the nursing thing, just don't quit stone cold and just dive in the catering business. Still practice, save money, learn, even if you don't get the hands-on experience, but make research. And even sometimes if the passion is there, you really want to do it, sacrifice some days that you're not at the hospital or at wherever you're working at to be in the kitchen around some people. Some people, they just want it to happen overnight. It's not gonna happen overnight. Get that experience, save save while you are trying to learn. And then once you feel that you are ready to get started, to get the ball rolling, then that investment that you already made for yourself, not only in learning but also in financial savings, you can just kickstart your business.
Yeah, I would agree. I agree with everything that you said, but I want to touch on the part about doing your research and figuring out how much it's going to cost you, because it might not cost that much to start. So I'm not sure what type of business you're trying to start or planning on.
Can Leslie be more specific and tell us exactly, like, is Leslie trying to do catering, or is she doing private, or what's she want to do?
Yeah, he or she. Sorry. You don't see pictures.
So. Also looking like, you know, the other side of capital too is like, even with how much money you need, like, how did you get your capital? I know for me, like, a lot of it is talking to people. Like, if you are going into business for yourself, do not treat your business like a side chick. Like, seriously, I know so many chefs that treat their businesses like side chicks. Like, y'all don't say their name, you don't claim them in public, you don't buy them gifts. Like, what? Like, dude, my business is my baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, I birthed it. That is my creation. So, like, I have to feed into it and pour into it and also speak encouragement of it. So when you're out and about talking about, I need capital, yo, you want to know how I got my capital? Because I told people what my dream was. And when they saw that my skill set was starting to click, hey, you know what? Are you ready to do this? Actually, yeah. Okay, well, you know what? I want to be a part of this. You'd be surprised. Like, my best friend was with me from day one. She was the one that said, you should go to culinary school. So when I got out of the industry and decided, hey, I'm going into business for myself, she gave me $1,000. I saved another $2,000, but I also did not start a huge business. I had just been laid off. So I specifically did not go straight into catering. I went into private and personal chefing because I can use their kitchen. That cost me nothing. Like,
yeah.
Nothing. Exactly.
There's equality with this either. Like, you also have to really be very cognizant of what you do have, what skills you have, and how can I sell that on a small scale to then scale out. Like, I see so many people that go immediately to get an LLC. Bruh, I'm a sole proprietorship. I don't need to be an LLC right now. But also, I live in LA. It's expensive. Like, it's $125 for you. It's like $400 or $500 for me. Like, plus all these other taxes. Like, it's ridiculous. I want to open a deli and a sandwich shop. So, like, if you want a brick and mortar, like, you're gonna have to do way more than any of it. Like, you don't need a loan, bruh. Like, straight up. Like, that's gonna take way more capital. So, like,
yes.
You also have to be financially literate. You know, this is where it's not even about food. This is financial literacy. Like,
yes.
I want to open a deli and sandwich shop. Like, you're gonna need way more capital than one of us is gonna need. Like, way more.
And I'm not sure where you live, but there are sites like, I know smallbusinessassociation.gov. They provide everything that you need to know. That's what I used when I first started. And then New York Business Expo, like they basically walk you through step by step on what you need, the documents you need, the licenses you need, certifications, everything you need to start your business.
And what Chef Alain was saying about Google, I don't know if y'all saw me in the amen corner over here, but like, real shit, Google will teach you how to use Google AdWords. They will give you classes. They will give you help. They will even give you the first $150 free on AdWords. And if you're playing it smart, what you do is you take that $150 and then you put it out there, like, very specific about what you're trying to do. Get that advertising. As you land clients, you need to save at least 10 to 15% just for marketing. Marketing alone. People pay for eyes, and never forget that we pay for audience. So, like, when you're on Google, like, take the classes. If you get on Squarespace and build a website, or Wix and do a website, take their classes, because those are the resources that'll also tell you, like, oh, you know, they also are the people that'll tell you, like, other grants and, like, little specialty, like, loans that you can get. And, like, even right now, there's crowdsourcing with Kickstarter, there's crowdsourcing with Kiva. Like, a Kiva loan, you can get that, and, like, let's say you take out $10,000, right? You'll actually have a $5,000 loan, and $5,000 you'll actually crowdsource. So you'll get $10,000, but you're only paying back $5,000. So there are all kinds of options for how to get capital, but, like, we have to constantly be on Google, constantly be researching and continuing your education as a business person. Like, a lot of us forget we don't have MBAs, so you need to get yourself a Google MBA.
Yeah, Google helps a lot. YouTube helps a lot. It's you can definitely learn a lot of these things on your own if you're on a budget. But if you have the money to spend on hiring someone to do it for you, then go ahead and do that, because time is money, and you might not have the time to dedicate towards that. Luckily, we're all in quarantine right now, so I built my blog from scratch on WordPress, and it took forever. Like I'm still not 100% complete, but there's a lot that goes into it. But I'm teaching myself along the way. And Google helped a lot. YouTube helped a lot. So you can really learn everything that you need to learn online.
You get a whole degree on YouTube.
Well, yeah, that's a fact.
I get a whole degree on YouTube, bro. I learn so much stuff from YouTube every day.
Yeah.
So guys, speaking on marketing though, what other advice do you have for marketing? I know for me, I use word of mouth 100%. Alan, Chef Alan, you mentioned that repeat clientele. Like anytime I do a job, I make sure I go above and beyond because I love recommendations and repeat clients. So that's very important. But I personally use Google, not that much, but I more so use like Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like AdSense, but didn't get too far on that. I'm still learning all that. But what do you guys use for marketing?
Okay, so I would say that aside from Instagram, Facebook, Google, and word of mouth, referrals and stuff like that. Every now and then, well, we also do like sometimes we have email blasts that we use. So or throughout the period of time where we've interacted with people, whether they hired us to do a service for them or not, we keep their contact information in the database, and we always use email blasts every once a week or every other week, so we can keep people aware of what we're doing, what we're offering, our products, what we're doing new, what we're changing, and all that stuff. These things help a lot. I would say also, let's say you decide to be to do catering for weddings. You can also get an account in certain wedding database, Wedding Wire, The Knot, those things. And once you start getting capital, you can invest more to pay the monthly fee, so your business can really stand out all over there. You can invest in that too. That works a lot. You get clients. People always reaching out to you based on your region. What else? I say one of the things we did too when we first started was participate in some of those free things, where we're giving out samples, like wedding salons and stuff like that. We're there and people get to interact with our name out there. One of the best things that people don't know is like about Google also is that once your name is get mentioned in different pages, it also creates traction to you because that same business name, especially with the tag on it, keeps repeating, and the algorithms play around, and your name pops up, and for people to find you.
Chef Alan, can I piggyback on that for a sec? So the way it actually works is like a spider web, right? Like every little thing you do gives you this internet presence. So like the way I separate this out is what is your real life, what is your internet life. Your business needs to be alive in real life, but it also needs to be alive on the internet. So when I say alive on the internet, also like, I don't know if everybody's catches this, but Chef Alan is very much separating like our Google, Yelp, Wedding Wires from our Instagram and Facebook. Those are very different ways of marketing, right? So like that's the other thing a lot of us forget, like for like people younger than us. So like where Instagram and Facebook really can work for you, it doesn't always work for the two of us. Like for me, Instagram is really about appearances, the TV stuff, the book stuff, and like those people are really just interested in who my clients are.
And yeah, it depends. Sorry to interrupt you real quick. I don't want to cut off your train of thought, but it also depends on your clientele because everyone who follows me on Instagram, like likes they're not paying the bill. So it's like, is your clientele really on Instagram? Yes, some of them may be on there, but probably not the bulk of them. So you have to do something other than that. So
I can sell the things that I sell to people on Instagram or Facebook, recipes. Those don't cost more than $5. Like you can push products in that direction. But when we start pushing, like, let's be honest here, Chef Alan's not cheap, right? Like, he's not cheap. People who are looking for him are not looking for him on Instagram or Facebook because none of us are going to get catfish. Like, we're going to look on Google. Like, when we have a question, we go to Google. Like, that's the first thing we do. So, like, knowing what that is and what he's talking about with the SEO, And like, especially what Abby's telling you guys about building her blog from the ground up. So when you're building these things from the ground up, for instance, like Abby with your photos that you have on your site, if you're back tagging all of them, like all of my photos on my site, on the back end of it, it's like Chef Amanda, where we are, the team's names, what the food is, da 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 da. So then with the same caption now, when I go to Instagram, when you see that same picture on Instagram, it's the same caption. I have those same keywords everywhere. So like when you back that up and then you do it on Yelp, you do it on Google, you do it on Facebook, you do it on Wedding Wire, you do it on all these places, that spider web is now getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So when you go to Google search yourself, you're now rising up without having to pay them to rise up. Yeah. Now you've made your life solidified on the internet. If that makes sense.
That is a very great thing that you said there. And I was taught also on your website, whatever pictures you use on your website, make sure that your name or your product's name is part of that picture.
Yep.
Like in the description, right? In the description and
in the description, but it doesn't have to show on the website the description of it. But once you load it up and then you say what this is, so whenever people go on Google and search images and stuff like that, your picture will pop up.
If you don't do the back tagging, your images will not show up on a Google image search.
Yes.
Yeah, the other day I typed in something and I saw my picture on the Google. I wasn't even looking for my picture. It was a food picture of mine. I was like, oh snap, it was on the first page.
Right? You're like, oh, I'm doing it. That's how you know your SEO is working. Like, you know the spider web is working, and like that's another thing too. Always have friends who don't live in your house to Google you and send you screenshots. Yes. So you can see accurately
different IP. Yeah, have somebody that has a different IP than you to search you to see where you are. Yes.
And like when I check my Google right now, I don't come up nearly as much when I check it. But if I have one of you guys check, you're like, holy shit, your Google is strong. And I'm like, it looks weak over here, but that's because I'm on my IP address. Like, so sometimes it's the reverse too. Google will show like, oh, you're like, oh, it's coming up. No, it's because it's your IP address, baby. Like, check it.
So for someone to type in your actual name, or for someone to type in something relevant to your
what you want, whatever your business name is, like whatever your business name is, like I go by Chef Amanda everywhere. So like right now, if you just Google Chef Amanda, it's Chef Amanda Freytag typically, but I'm actually starting to gain some traction because if you start Chef Amanda Jackson, I show up. It's cool. But like the goal is that eventually when you start searching Chef Amanda, it's not just Amanda Freytag, it's me too. But I've been at this longer, and it's like it's taking a while just to get off page 5, you know?
Yeah.
I guess with us, with myself, Chef Abyssinia, and with you, Chef Alain Le Marie, like we have different names. Le Maire, sorry. We have unique names, so like it probably wouldn't be that hard to show up on the first few pages.
Exactly.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah, and that's the reason why I went with my last name, because when I was first started to like, okay, really dedicate myself into it, and I'm like, man, there are so many Chef Alains, especially Alains with the way my name is spelled, you know, Alain Ducasse, there are all these other chefs, and I'm like, Chef Alain won't stand out, and I'm like, a little fact thing, I grew up, born and raised in Haiti, grew up, went to high school in Haiti and everything. So throughout my high school years, we used to address each other by our last names, because some of us have the same first name. So for us to differentiate who we're talking to actually, so we spoke to each other with our last names.
Yeah.
And so I came in with that mentality. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it as if I was back in high school. And I just decided to go with my last name.
Yeah. And it's catchy. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
We do have a question from Jobert. He asks, how about starting a food truck business and doing catering? I'm not sure what the had meant, Jobert. But can you answer that?
Food truck. I have not dived in that sector yet myself, but I know some friends who've wondered about it. One of my friends, he was trying to do it. I mean, the first thing is getting the food truck, and the same rules apply for food truck when it comes to business license, healthcare, and especially for food truck, the health department will be even more
And
um about it. And also they want. I don't think they will allow you to do the bulk of the prep in the truck. Like I know that's a lot of these guys. They have to have a commissary kitchen. That's where they prep everything, load in the truck, and then they do what they have to do. And then at the end of the day, they have to take everything back in to whatever the kitchen that they're using before they put the truck to rest. So
Yeah.
so that so the rules are different. Um, a little stricter with the and also there's zonings too. You have to be registered to be in certain zones. You can't just decide to roll up to an area where you don't have any permit to be there to serve food. So that's another thing that I heard about. But one good thing is about the food truck, there is food truck associations. So you can decide to look up for those associations, become a member of them, and they can even like point you out where you can be and everything like that and guide you so you can get that rolling.
All right. For answering.
So I've done a lot of consulting on food trucks. That is one of those things, like you really need to be very knowledgeable on the laws in the city and county that you're in. I'll use Atlanta as an example. In Atlanta, you have to have your licenses, like your permission in each county that you go to. So you can't just be in Atlanta, then be in Decatur, and then be in Lithonia, and then be in Stone.
Down here too.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Down here too. Yeah.
A lot of times, like because of the propane, you cannot be within like 500 feet of a building. Like you can't take up too many commercially used parking spots. Like I find the food truck business to be like very cool, but because of the way brick and mortars have really lobbied against them and made the laws very hard to prosper. Like it's almost like you have to be super Instagrammable, a very big deal to really make it. And also like really becoming a part of those food truck communities, like join the associations before you buy into anything. Cause like if you get a food truck and you can't get into the clique, like you're kind of dead in the water. Like you're dead in the water straight up. Cause like the other thing is with food trucks too, it's not like a restaurant where we just deal with the health department. You deal with the health department, you deal with the police, and you have to deal with it. Like y'all gotta deal with, you deal with way more stuff plus waste. Like, and the way that they're doing you guys with commissary kitchens, honestly, is ridiculous because the prices on that just keep skyrocketing. So, like, if you're doing catering too, I would think the smart thing to do, if you're like trying to start, I would start catering and I would scale out to a food truck. But I would not start a food truck and then scale catering. I'd do catering and scale out to a food truck.
I agree.
Awesome. All right, so I wanted to get into, before we get into cooking with marijuana, I'm really excited to learn about all of that. I want to get into pricing and then also trials and tribulations, like as a chef, what we deal with, what we go through, like the whole journey. So let's start with pricing. I know, how do you guys go about pricing your menus, your services?
Okay.
With catering.
I mean, you know, speaking from having the background, the culinary background, the educational background, you know, they taught us how to do menu planning and costing and all that stuff. So for those who are not familiar with it, I would just say that, you know, you determine the cost of each ingredient that goes into your plate, that plate that you're doing. And from then you determine your labor costs, your overhead costs, all those little costs involved for variables and variable costs. So you can determine if you're making profit off of that dish or if you're losing money. So you don't want to cost something out based on emotions. I know a lot of chefs, they do it based on emotions. Oh, that's how much you're selling out there. Oh, that's how much. Oh, I don't think people would buy it. Like, make sure that you know the value of what you're serving.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure that what you're serving, you know the value of it, and you don't try to fix your costs based on what you think people are gonna expect you to sell, the price you're gonna expect to sell. Because at the end of the day, those who those who like your product, those who are searching for your product, those who understand what you're serving, they will pay for that cost for your product.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking with to a few friends in the industry also, and we're like, listen, make sure that what you put out is what you want to be for you to attract. If you put out cheap stuff, you're attracting cheap. But if you putting out great products at the price that matches what you're serving, you will attract the same customers because they will understand and respect that also.
If I can comment on that, that also goes back to branding and marketing, like representing yourself well and make sure you're putting out quality work. Like make sure you have a website. If you're going about this, if you want to go about it the most professional way and you want to charge your worth, make sure you have a website, not just the Instagram page.
Also, I've seen a lot of chefs out there. They have an Instagram page and it's private. Like, please.
And what?
A private chef page.
Oh my God!
Like,
I will not follow you with a private page. How the fuck are we supposed to anything from you if we can't follow you?
Exactly. Like you say, you're a private chef. You're a chef. You're out there, but when I go on your page, it's private. Why do I have to request for me to be able to see what you're offering? Like, first of all, people hate to do multiple process to get some things. We're in a time in our era right now where we want things to be readily accessible. I don't want to, if I go to your website, I have to click like 10 different times before I see one thing.
Yep.
Make sure that whatever you're selling, the essence of your business is readily accessible. Now, on the back end of the other pages, you can have into more details. But the first pages that people look into, they need to be able to say, oh, okay, this is what they offer, this is what they do. But you can't just have, oh, welcome to my page, and then you have to click to go in and do research. It's like you're in school and you're trying to do a project. No. And then on the Instagram page, oh man, I see Chef do it, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna click to request, because if I can see it, then I'm like, what am I gonna click into? Is it something that I really want to see?
Why are you hiding from us? Why are you hiding what are
you hiding? What?
And then by
you can't say you're a chef or a business.
Yeah.
You say you're any. There's some business pages that are private too. I'm like, don't be on Instagram then.
But if you had a business, would you put the blinds down and put the clothes sign up and be like, man, why aren't people coming to me? That's what a private page is.
Exactly. Like, don't be on Instagram then. If you're gonna have a private business page, don't be on Instagram.
Stay on Google, and that's fine. You'll be
exactly like what are you hiding? What do you don't want to share with the world that I don't understand it? So yeah, that is.
And I'll say this about pricing too, because like Chef Alain just took you guys through like food costing, but one thing that we probably should touch on is like how to price yourself out as a private or personal chef. Like a lot of people really don't get this, right? So let me move up so we can
gourmet service. It's a
we all here. Now, you determine your worth. You determine your worth, right? But you need to be realistic about your skill set. Be realistic, right? And when I say that, I'm being so loving, so kind, and so nice. Chef Alain, you've been at James Beard House all over the place, right? If you told me, hey, I deserve to make $250,000 a year, I'd say, well, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, like you look at his work, it looks like that. Boom. If I say, hey, you know what? I've been working this long. I think I deserve to make $150,000 a year, right? That is how I break down my costs. I've been working long enough at this point where if I was in any other job with an education, the intent that I put in my work, the amount of work that I do, because also I live like an artist. I do this. This is my whole life. Like my lifestyle is dedicated to doing this. So like if I've dedicated that kind of time, I get paid for that kind of time. So that's how I charge. So like take what you should be making per year on a realistic level. If you are just out of culinary school, no, you are not coming out and making $65K. Let it go. Not happening. Because like if you were to go into the industry, could you get paid that much? If you couldn't, don't charge clients that much. You see what I'm saying? Now, when we get past a certain phase, though, you can charge more. So like somebody with maybe 5 or 6 years of experience, what would you be getting paid in a restaurant? Like, where are they at now? Like 37, 38K a year?
I think it depends on where you live.
Yeah.
Where you live. So like go based on your experience and really feel it out. And if you don't feel like you're at a point where, hey, it might not be worth it to go into business for yourself just yet as a personal or private chef. And that's okay. Like when you max out what you can make in a restaurant, like I maxed out what I could make in a restaurant. You get me? Like I maxed out for where I wanted to be and the food I want to do. So I'm still doing the math based on what my skill set is, based on what I offer. And then for a private chef, like I charge for me, then I charge for food.
Exactly.
Food, separate things. Now,
two separate things.
Because sometimes they really don't need food from me. At this point, sometimes it's just me. So like, but also you got to be making sure that you're getting paid. A lot of times, too many of us, we stay in food costs and we're like, okay, well, this plate's $40. Okay, but what did you get paid?
Exactly. It's funny that you said that. One of my chef friends, he reached out to me the other day and he was like, hey man, he sent me a menu that the client asked him. So I said, okay, are you dropping off that food or are they requesting you to be there?
Also true.
He's like, they're expecting me to be there. And I'm like, okay. Oh, and he's like, yeah, they want lunch and dinner. I'm like, oh, so you're gonna be there for a hot minute. I said, dude, listen, you have to put everything else on hold.
Yeah.
You have to focus on these people only. I'm like, so now where you could have made multiple people at a time and provide service to a lot of people, you're shutting down your business for 2 people. I'm sorry, unless that client can afford it, they have to either to pay for it or they just leave it because your time has value also. Like you said, you can't just charge for somebody asks you, oh, why do you charge service charge? I'm like,
because we gave you that.
Chef Alain, I don't know if your speaker got a little cloudy.
Oh, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. It's just a little cloudy.
Oh, how about now?
Yeah, we can still hear you, but it's still cloudy. But I mean, I guess
we'll see.
Okay.
What if we can hear?
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
You hear me now?
Yeah,
okay.
But it's better though. So okay. I'm gonna touch on pricing and everything. So you have to think about the amount of hours and the time that you're committing to the job. So the amount of hours that you're there, the time you're spending on the menu, going back and forth coordinating with the client, the time you're spending shopping, travel time, you have to calculate labor. So you have to hire out staff. You have to calculate miscellaneous items. So from party supplies, catering, chafing dishes, plates, utensils, all the things that you'll need. You'll have to calculate the ingredients all the way down to, investment in your company. So that's something else that you have to calculate. And then on top of that, there's also taxes. And then here's another thing. Always, before you book anyone, before you put anyone on your calendar, take a deposit. And if you're working professional, always use a business contract, okay? Business contract that lays out your guidelines, what you expect, what you need. Even break it down to, if you're a personal chef, say you need to have a clean kitchen, an empty dishwasher. I cannot come in here, lay all of these guidelines out in your contract. So it's clean and clear, and go over all of this with them, because don't expect them to know don't assume that they already know.
And Abby, can I add some of that? Like, I hear this a lot. Guys, do not be a punk ass when it comes to these contracts. If a client does not want to sign a contract, that ain't your client. Fuck them. Straight up. Fuck them. Because the contract is not just to protect you, it's also to protect them. If they don't sign that contract, how you can't hold me accountable to being there, just like I can't hold you accountable for things. A contract works both ways. So also please make sure, like Abby's saying too, make sure your contract is not so one-sided, because a lot of times if clients see a one-sided contract that only protects you, they're not interested. It needs to also protect them. You have food liability insurance. That needs to be on the contract so they know that they are protected. Like, So if you have, I hear this a lot. That's why I wanted to add it. Like if you're having issues with people signing your contracts, double check that your contracts are not too one-sided. And also just always have it on your heart that your contract is a living document. It changes as life changes. Every time something new happens on these goddamn jobs, bro, I'm adding something new to the contract. Every time.
That's when I added the kitchen thing. That's when I added that because
I'm gonna add that myself.
Bro, you show up with a wreck. Like, no, it's in my contract. You need to let me know if your kitchen is raggedy. I need to know.
Yeah. Exactly.
I need space to work. And then
I've had that experience before.
Yes. Yeah, it's like not
you
just
come in and it's a whole mess, and you're like, the fuck, like, I'm sorry.
Extra hour. And another thing is, like, if I do come to a clean kitchen, I get to upcharge you because I'm spending time now.
That's an extra hour.
Yeah, so that's also listed. If this is this way, this is the fee. Like,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Charge.
Chef Amanda, we have a question for you.
How do you assess your skill set? Woo, what a question. I love this question. So this is where people hate me. All right. So look, you have to be very realistic about what you can and cannot do. How many restaurants have you worked in? How many, like, compare yourself to the people around you. When you go into a restaurant, are you the line cook? Are you the person who's in the back kind of like, you know, I kind of get it, I kind of don't get it? Like, are you beast mode with knife skills? Are you a prep machine? Like, look, people work, they'll say, I am a tiny tyrant. I play no games. I am fast as fuck. Like, when I walk in anywhere, like, it's about execution. So like when I say skill set, this is also about practice and mastery. Like, it's very easy to assess your skill set when you are constantly practicing. Like, a lot of us, we say we're chefs, we say we're cooks. I very specifically say I'm a culinary artist because I'm an artist. It's about the creativity. I work from a creative space constantly. I write, I paint, I journal, I draw. I do a lot of stuff just to stay creative and to keep that up. But I also am still in the background reading about new food. Like, I just bought the I Am Filipino cookbook, and like I'm learning more techniques that are not from here. You know, it's like you're continuing education constantly, and that's part of mastering skill is understanding that there's no real mastery. Like, you're always learning more. You're always adding something to the belt. You know what I mean? So when I say assess your skill set, look at the kind of food you want to do. Look at the chefs you want to be like. Are you executing on that level or not? And we have to be very realistic about it. Like I love Abby's page because Abby's page is perfect. Like, but also if you look at her dinner parties, if you look at her work, if you look all the way through it, it's like that top to bottom. That's execution.
Thank you.
And that's the thing, like, can you do it every time? You go look at Chef Alain and all of his page, all of his work. He does it every time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Execution is about consistency. It's not about the fluke. It's not about the one shot. It's not about that one time you got it right. It's I don't fuck up. You feel me? Like, are you there where you don't fuck shit up? Like, you come in and it's like, whoa, they know who came. Like, that skill.
Even if you fuck up, they don't even see
They don't know.
You know how to work it out to make it not look like you fucked up.
Right. Work it out. There are no fuck ups when you work it out, you know, like you keep it moving. But that's also a mastery of skill and being able to be quick on your feet. Like, and a lot of times I notice that, especially in situations like catering and in-home, we are basically in the fucking jungle. And a lot of people don't get that no kitchen's the same. So I hear also a lot of young chefs, you know, when they call you, I'm like, oh man, can I go to another restaurant? That hesitation or that fear that you don't know how to also cook anywhere. You cannot have that fear in this line of work because we're always in a new kitchen. There's always something wrong with it. There's always something missing. And the clients always fuck shit up. They don't know what they're doing. That's why they called us. So like, you know, you can't, like, being skillful. Part of that is also, you know how much skill you have when you get out into the world and you can't figure shit out. If you get out there and you can't figure it out, it's okay to come on back and say, I got some learning to do. Or like call, ask questions, like really be okay with comparing your food to other food. And you have to be honest about it. Like, take pictures of your food, send it to your friends and say, does this look appealing to you? Is this sexy to you? What does it say to you? Like, don't be afraid to ask for critique. And a lot of you guys are really, really hesitant to ask for real critique. Like, I send pictures to my family. I send pictures to my friends. Like, when I finish my website, hey, do you mind clicking through it? Tell me what you think. Is it easy? Does it flow? Like, when we
they might see something that you don't see.
Right. And
Exactly.
so when you're assessing your skills across the board, like you need to ask for outside help because see, a lot of times we all think, oh, I'm great. I'm doing this. I'm working on that, blah, blah, blah. But you're working from a space of you. And as an artist, we need to be an artist, your art has to be consumed. So I need to know what they want. So like when you're assessing your skill set, don't just assess it for yourself, but you need to get outside critique. Cook for your friends. They need to, if they don't love your food, clients ain't gonna love the shit either.
True.
You don't know what your skill set is. Get your blown ass friend to come over and say, hey, I'm about to blow out these 3 dishes for you. I'm gonna do an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. Like run your shit. Seriously, run it. Like you need to have a dress rehearsal if you haven't been out here before. Run it. So like, and get people to come that you trust that will be real with you, but also be okay with taking the critique. If they tell you your food was too salty, you need to work that shit out. If you smoke cigarettes and you don't know what it tastes like, you need to work that shit out. You feel me? Like if you are heavy-handed on something, or if you don't know how, or they're like, the color's not that great, or this doesn't look like such and such that's on Instagram. Okay, you might need to work on plating and follow more food stylists. Like it's okay to say, I suck at something. Don't be afraid to suck at something new. I'm not amazing at plating. I can plate, but when I have big events, that's why I have a fucking food stylist. I know what I'm good at. I write recipes.
And it's a growing and learning process. Like there's always room to go. Even though I'm a business owner, like I feel like you guys are way far ahead of me, and there's so much more I have to learn, and I'm always just looking for new information to dig in. So it's like it's all about learning and growing along the way too. Like making mistakes and improving. What was that?
No, I said we learn every day, you know. Truth of the matter is, one of the event planners we work with, and she was like, hey guys, I don't feel your website totally. This is why. When she said it, I was like, shit, I put in so much work into that. And then she said, you know, that. But at the end of the day, I said, you know what? She's right. I have to make some changes. So even though, like, because my ego was probably kind of busted a little bit, I was like, you know what? It's for the better good. So I decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go and look at all the other guys, what they're doing, and see how I need to improve mine.
Yep.
And if I'm doing catering, I need my website to speak catering. And I went and I did that, but I didn't take the criticism from her as in like, oh man, she's trying to talk shit and whatever. No, it's something that you need to be able to welcome, to accept. You know, like you said, Chef Amanda, have your friends taste your food, your family taste your food, because our palate is used to certain things.
Yep.
To us, it might be the best ever, but to somebody else, they might say, yo, this is too salty. This is more salt. This is not balanced.
They'll go, oh, this is too spicy. It's too hot. It's too, you know, and you're like,
yeah,
I made Jesus on a plate. No, apparently not. And it's just one of those things. You got to ask people and be open to accept the critique. Like, just because it wasn't good today, it doesn't mean like you can't workshop it. Like, you know what I mean? Like Chef Alain probably says this too. Like, if I'm on a gig, this is not the first time I've ever made this. Like, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's showtime. And like, you have to start making your practice time all the time. Practice time is showtime. Every time we run a drill, we're running like it is the game. Like, I grew up on mama mentality and watching Jordan. So if you are ever confused on where my mentality is at, like, yo, I'm June 11, 97 flu game. That is how I think. That's how I operate. So like, you know, you really have to be okay with the fact that you're not going to be perfect. And in not being perfect though, you're perfectly placed and constantly practicing. Be perfectly placed and constantly practicing. And eventually you will have perfect work that hits with perfect pay. Like, and you have to keep telling yourself that, affirming that, and doing the work behind it.
I really want to get into, I did want to do trials and tribulations of chef life, but we can scratch that for now. I want to dive into cooking with marijuana.
Me too.
I have so many questions for you, but Chef Amanda, you can take the lead and just dive in and start sharing. And then if I have any questions, I'll just
okay.
Okay.
It's something that I've always thought about doing, and I just did not want to go into it without having the proper knowledge and stuff like that, because I know it takes a lot. You have to know your shit to do it. And I'm glad that you do it, Chef Amanda. So for those in there out there that are like, just like me, what triggered you to get into that?
Great question.
Wow. Today I'm going to answer honestly. I smoke a lot of weed. I love weed. It is literally one of my favorite things. Like I view it like an herb. The minute I found out Cali was going legal and 45 was elected that November, I was in LA that January. He got elected November. I was selling my shit December. I was moving by the end of January. I was in this very apartment by February fucking 5th, man. And like January 1st was when we went legal here and they started opening dispensaries. So like the first thing I really started doing, they used to do this thing where if you buy like 5 grams at a time, like buy a 5 gram eighth, it was like $30. So what I would do, instead of just getting a full 5 grams, I'd separate it out into 1 gram each, and I would just smoke a different strain. I just learned about weed. I literally just sat, for a solid year, I was hella chiefing. But I mean, I'm always still. But it was really like to smell, to taste, to understand the smoke, because like it's kind of like using salts and different herbs and other ingredients, like the way that Do-Si-Do smell versus Blue Dream versus Dream Queen, they smell different. King Louis OG is like one of my favorites, but it's a very herbaceous taste and smell, so I like that for extra virgin olive oil. Sour Diesel is more citrusy, and so I like that for butter. But like, one of my big things about weed, people who want to cook with weed, if you are not into weed, just let this shit go. Like, because honestly, you gotta love it. It's so fun and you can do so much with it. But if you close yourself off to, I'm cooking with cannabis and this is what it is and da-da-da-da-da, it just becomes like, well, what the fuck is this? But, there's so many strains. So like, especially being in a legal state, I am able to enjoy it in a different way. But my first thing about getting into cooking with cannabis is smoking different kinds of weed and take notes on it. The same way you did in culinary school, you would taste these different things that you've never heard of. Smoke different weeds, write it down, like write down the kind of high, like, ooh, I felt bubbly, or I was a little more talkative than usual, or I don't like this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you mark that off list. That's not what we fuck with. Like, it's really learning more and more of what you like and what other people like. And then we start getting into, so we got the what is marijuana part down and like how we're choosing it. But then when we get into like sativas, hybrids, and indicas, that's where we get more specific, right? So like we've got 3 different types. A sativa, a lot of people think that, oh, that's peppy or, that's like a fun high. Da-da-da-da. No, sativa is a cerebral head high. So like that is more where the high is. Indica is a body high, typically more calming and relaxing, but it's the body, and that's going to really fill you up. But when you cook, it all goes down like an indica. So anytime you cook with weed, even if it's a sativa, you might get a head high, yes, but because you digested it, it's going to still be a body high. You're just going to be hot as shit. So like, we have to keep those things in mind. So once we get through that kind of stuff, we get into like how to select weed and stuff like that. If you're in a legal state, this is very easy. Just go to the dispensary and it's like a fucking buffet. But if you're in an illegal state, depending on who your weed man is, this is one of my big suggestions. Get you a knowledgeable weed man. Because if you can, he can really hook it up for you in a way and tell you what things are, tell you what the strain is. You can kind of get a little bit more selective. But like when I first started, I was in Atlanta, so I just kind of got whatever the weed man had. You just buy weed. Ain't no choices. You buy weed. So like a lot of times when I first started, I would get these varying results. But the main thing was I always start with an eighth to a stick of butter. So an 8 to 8 ounces is literally always where I start. Now an eighth is debatable at this point because of money. But I like to do at least 5 grams to an eighth. So at least 5 grams of weed to 8 ounces is a pretty decent size. At this point, I think I do like 10 grams, 10 to 12, depending on the percentage of weed. But like, again, I'm in a legal state, so I can be very accurate with dosages, whereas other people cannot necessarily. But you can kind of say, well, this is you'll be able to feel high when you start doing it. So like, one of the cool things about cooking with weed.
So I have a question for you. When you say you do an eighth to a stick of butter, like what's your process? Do you like let it cook on the stove?
Oh yeah, that's what I was getting. Yeah, that's what we're getting. So like,
Okay, sorry.
Weed, right? So you know how when you have to spark up, right? That's the component that activates the THC. So when you cook with marijuana, like you still have to give it that spark and activate it with heat. So what we do is that's called decarboxylation. So decarboxylation is the process to which we activate THC. And what we do there is we'll take that marijuana, we put it in the oven for 225 degrees for about 25, 30 minutes. And you're just gonna get really afraid, but you're like, oh, that's that smell. Okay, that's it. And so, you know, it's gonna dry it out a little bit, but also activate that THC. From there, now that you have active THC, now you can start cooking. So if we want to infuse bacon fat, butter, olive oil, evaporated milk, like anything with a heavy fat content you can do. And tincture, Everclear, and like that's how you make Green Dragon and stuff like that.
What do you do with Everclear?
Everclear, that's how you make a tincture or like Green Dragon. So like the coolest, if you want to be able to do very accurate dosage without using like fat, like butter, bacon fat, all that kind of stuff, what you do is you'll make a cannabis tincture, and it's called Green Dragon. There's like a ton of recipes online for this. And like you use the active THC, the decarb THC, plus Everclear and water. And what you're going to do is let that sit for a while. But then after it sits, you're going to evaporate it down, and you're going to decrease some of that alcohol content. And what you end up with is like a really wonderful and very potent amount of like literal liquid THC. So like that method, and then you can just put drops in your food or drops on something. That's a very easy way to do dosaging. I typically don't use tinctures just because like that's no fun to me. Like I like the fun of doing the whole thing. So I like to make butters, olive oils, and stuff like that. But when you make a tincture, that is the most accurate way of dosaging in an illegal state. I will say that, and it's also the easiest way to use anything. So if we're infusing butter, so I'm stovetop. I can get old school. I have a magical butter machine, but I don't really use it. Like I like to be in control.
That, and I was like, this is genius, because does it not make your whole house smell like weed when you use it?
I haven't used that thing in so long. Honestly, I use that thing to make limoncello. I don't really use it to make weed butter. Like I make my butter by hand. See, I'm also real old school about all my food. Like my hands are in all my food. I'm that person. Like I don't like too much machinery in my food. I prefer to have my hands in it. Like I'm real old school when it comes to that. So like I barely use that thing. It doesn't, and it still smells like. It really doesn't. It smells when you decarb, but it doesn't smell the way I do it because I do mine in a double boiler with mason jars. So what I do is I take decarb weed and then I put lecithin and lecithin granules. So I have some out, but lecithin granules, that's like your emulsifier. So when you want that cohesiveness of the THC throughout it, kind of like if you ever see some people who make weed butter and they have like a bunch of plant matter at the bottom, they didn't use. Lecithin is what keeps that emulsified, buttery, oily type going, even with all that plant matter in it. So you'll put whatever your fat is, and the weed in the mason jar, tighten that up, and you literally submerge it in your hot stock pot for about 3.5, 4 hours. And when you take it out, I let it sit till it's cool enough for me to handle, strain it, done. Like it really does its own thing. And like I have the recipe, but I'm also doing a Zoom class on this for chefs specifically. And we're gonna like really go through like the nitty gritty of how to do this, how to do accurate dosaging, how to choose weed, like going through all of it, because this is such a great way to make money. And truthfully, like I think there's a lot of healing to be found in marijuana, and we're not always necessarily able to access it because of how it has been put out to us, like that this bad drug is sending people to prison and jail and all this stuff. And like actually it is a gateway to a lot of healing, especially for those of us who deal in anxiety. Like even with microdosing and macrodosing, like, yeah, you want to have fun, but this is still an herb that helps like anti-inflammatory and like relaxation and giving a lot of peace. Like it's not just this thing that is terrible, you know? Like even for people with ADHD, like it's very helpful to being able to get work done depending on what you're smoking or eating. Like there are just so many options, or taking it sublingually. Like one of the things I do with my olive oil, because it also is an MCT oil, I take mine, like I take like two, I have like a little dropper that I put it in, but it's like a 2.5 milligram hit. And I take it under the tongue in the mornings, and that's a great mood booster. It keeps my CBD level active, but also like, I'm like, yeah, we can do the day now. And like, it's a fun thing. Like, you don't have to get fucked up every time. I do microdose regularly. Like, that's a thing for me.
Yeah. So everyone who's interested in taking your Zoom class, what's the information for that?
I'm still currently getting my shit together. So like, I will post it probably next week or the week after and set a date. Cause I like to kind of throw it away. I like to do things pretty far out. Like, I'll probably set a date next week because I'm still really trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Because the one thing I really want to happen is that this is not going to be a 1-day course. This is going to be 2 days. So like, because it's just a lot. And I want it to be for chefs so you can literally go do it. Because like, it's not easy to this was not something I Google searched together. I had to go work with people. When I first moved out here, I worked with Chef Andrea Drummer. I followed Jeff, 420 Chef. I followed Miguel Trinidad over at Fifth Floor. Like, I follow a lot of cannabis chefs very specifically. Like, oh, this is cool. I'm watching, I'm seeing, I'm learning. But beyond that, like, I smoked a lot of weed to learn more about weed. Like, I also try to talk to growers a lot, and really, like, the same way we have a relationship with farmers. Like, if you want to cook with weed, you need to know a couple of growers too. Like, learn about how this herb grows. How does it feel? Like, how does it exist in the world? The same way you know how corn, tomatoes, and potatoes exist, you need to know how weed exists. Like, we know about root vegetables. There's a reason why we use certain things and we don't use certain things, And you got to kind of know the same thing about weed. I treat weed the same as I treat wine. It's about terroir, it's about region, it's about where it comes from. Like, there's a whole thing to this. So you can actually structure this in a way that is high end, because there's so many strains, just like there's so many different grapes and so many different types of wine. Like, we love a good cocktail, but we're so afraid of marijuana still. And like, it's funny because once you get to a space where it opens up, you're like, oh, it's like a buffet everywhere. Like, they just have this, and like, no, we do. It's just laying around. So like, I'm really interested in making sure that chefs have another skill set, because this is a great moneymaker, but also like, it's just another thing to add to your skill. The same way a lot of us know alkaline, we know paleo, we know whole food. Like, you know what I'm saying? We know all these diets. Why don't you know this? We should. So like, right now, it's not about a certification. It's just one of those things. I just don't think there's enough access to it. And like, it's also one of those things too, because in some of you guys' states, it's still illegal. So my big thing is just being very thorough so you're safe. And so you can actually go out here and do this with confidence. And then when it does go legal, you're already ahead of the game.
Yeah.
I'll have that up either next week or the week after. I'll have that up because I'm also trying to make sure, I want to make sure I go through a few of the laws for some of the main states that many people are in, especially like with states, like things to be aware of. Like, I want to make sure I'm really covering that kind of stuff. Because like, I think sometimes we forget too, especially with so many of us being of color, while marijuana is wonderful, I love weed. Like, depending on where you are, you kind of need to weigh out your risk. Because some counties care more than others. You know what I mean? Like, some of your clients might care more than others. Like, seriously, like, we need to mention that. Like, I've done enough work at this point. My client base doesn't really give a shit what I do. But I could not have necessarily been an outward smoker 5 years ago. I can't necessarily say like 5 years ago, if I was still starting this business and I was outward as much cannabis forward as I am now, but this would have worked. Like, you have to also know your face and know the people you're dealing with, because very seriously, this will alienate some of your clients. Like, it will alienate, like, some of them, oh, you do drugs, get the fuck out of my house. Like, so you have to be very cognizant. Like, there are some people who still very much feel a way about weed and marijuana. So especially in chefing, be very careful how open you are about your marijuana use. Like, I live in California, I can get away with it, but also I've been working longer. So like, but if I was at the beginning of my career, I don't know if I would be this open about it, honestly, because there's still very much a taboo and it's a risk, especially like, because this is still our business, it's still our livelihoods. So like, just wherever you are, also be very cognizant about like, what is the law? How much trouble can you get in? Like, know what the consequences are if you get stopped with 2 ounces of oil. Like, know what the consequences are if you have an ounce of weed on you. Because some of you, if you're making a big batch, you'll have an ounce on you. And that's prison time in some states. Like, you have to really be smart about that. So even though I love cooking cannabis, I did want to mention that because while we all are so down, like sometimes we get so excited and we forget that some of us are in spaces where this is still a life or death thing.
Yeah.
And so we have to also just be careful too. But I think that it's going to be a very, very cool thing. And after pandemic, I'm anxious to see how many states kind of look at California's lead and go, hey, you know, actually our state would have more money if we go ahead and legalize. Like, I'm really hoping to kind of see that start coming down, like people start legalizing specifically for the money. That's what happened after the Depression with Prohibition. So like, I'm hoping that we will have the same resurgence because beyond weed, like we've got a lot more people getting back into psychedelics and doing a lot of studies on fungi and how mushrooms work and like healing ceremonies with that. And like, there's so much that we just don't understand about sacred medicines. And I would like to see more chefs really understand herbalism because truthfully, as a chef, you are also an alchemist for the world. Like your magic is in food. You literally transmute energy from the earth and you make it into something completely new. You know, you take meat and you take meat that walks on land. You know, that was a living thing that was walking, and you take that when it dies and you turn it into something that's new life. You know, same thing when you take a plant out of the ground, you connect it from its source. You have killed it, and then our job is the alchemy of bringing it back to life. So really understanding these ingredients, understanding weed as an ingredient is step one. And then step two is really just like getting comfortable. Like, don't let the idea of weed be the thing like, oh my God, this is so hard. It's not, I promise you, it's so easy. It's just the taboos, they block you. Don't let the taboos of it block you because actually it's so easy and it's so fun. And once you start doing it, you'll be like, doing this, like, you know, it's because it's more than Rice Krispie treats, it's more than brownies. Like you can make anything. You can make coffees, drinks, you can do all kinds of compound butters. I'm talking like a whole dinner party. Like, you know, one of the coolest things I think, like the most beautiful dinner parties. I can't wait until you guys can do weed dinner parties. Cause like that's where this becomes more normal. Like when Chef Alain can do like a catered cannabis event, that is when this becomes more normal, you know, like we need more faces in this who are, I'm a responsible stoner, you know, like people have to be like, yo, some of us we have jobs, we have lives, we're responsible. Like we don't just smoke pot and like, you know, like that's not our story. So part of it is also adding that professional touch because like, and that's what I really would like to see more people like you guys in it because when we add that professional polish, do you guys know like how much better weed looks when Chef Alain says it's good and Chef Abby says it's good? They're like,
that's similar. That's basically like cooking with cannabis on Netflix. When I saw that, I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Then it's like, oh, wait, weed, not weed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It changes everybody's perspective. So like the more we're able to get into this professional setting, I'm really excited about it. But beyond that, like I'm trying to think of anything I left out that we
you when it comes to cooking with CBD versus, is there a difference with cooking with CBD versus cooking with marijuana or
you buy?
Is it like the same thing?
Just the weed that you buy. So like when you're doing CBD, you're basically buying weed that has a heavy CBD content without a THC content. So so I'm not sure how it works in illegal states, like where you guys are selling CBD, because I've not been to like a CBD only place. Because do they sell you guys CBD flower or just like concentrates and products?
I believe I haven't. Yeah, it's like the oil form.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so CBD.
I've seen. I think I've seen other products like soap or creams. I think I've seen creams and stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the difference between making stuff with CBD and making stuff with THC really is just the difference in the weed that I buy. So like when I buy for THC weed, like I'm just buying regular ass weed. If I'm doing CBD, then I'm buying literally weed that is CBD based. And so typically it'll have like 80 to like, it'll be like a pretty high CBD amount and maybe like 1% THC or 0 THC. And that'll be your CBD component. So like, you can do this stuff without activating the THC, but you can just get CBD for way cheaper. Like if I go buy CBD, like an ounce of CBD weed costs me $50 to like an ounce of the normal stuff I buy that can range between like 140 to 210.
Okay.
So CBD actually like so much cheaper. So I'm like, I don't even know why they charge so much for CBD products, honestly. Like, it's the wildest thing. But that's really the only difference, is that the CBD strains just do not have like that active THC component in them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was like,
there's so much to it. Like,
it's so fun. It's like it's like even cooking with, like, I had no idea like how many variety of mushrooms there are. Like, and I'm not talking about the magic ones, just like regular mushrooms, like how turkey tip mushrooms, king's mane mushrooms, like lion's mane, and Reiki mushrooms, like all of these healing aspects they have, like regenerating nervous systems and stuff like that, clearing out the lungs, like, there's so much for us to learn specifically about ingredients right now. If we start there, it's amazing what we can learn, because even just with weed, like, I had no idea how many types of plants they were. Like, now I'm like trying to learn how to grow seriously, because I think it would be really cool to have my own stash the same way, like, I have my own herbs. Why should I not have this herb, So, like, taking control of it. And, like, the main thing too is, by the way, there's a recipe on my site now, I want to say, for canna butter, but tips for making weed butter at home: use the European style cultured butter. You need to use European style butter. Do not use the cheap butter; it will burn. And if you're not going to clarify the butter, go ahead and buy ghee. Buy lecithin granules. They sell them typically at Whole Foods. You want to go ahead and get the lecithin granules. And truthfully, like, I think that this only requires a baking sheet, a hot pot, and a mason jar. That is what it requires. Like, I don't dive into buying all that other stuff. The most that I will use from even the magic butter machine is like my decarb box, because that thing actually is really helpful. But beyond that, like, I'll put the shit on a sheet here.
What's your website again? I'm gonna add it to the comments so everyone can go on there.
It's www.chefamanda.co.
And then Chef Alain, what was yours?
cheflemire.com.
www.chef. So you guys can follow those websites to find their work. Oh, I spelled that wrong. So where can they find you guys? Where else can they find you guys?
Oh yeah, Chef Abyssinia, what city are you in? I have to ask you that.
I'm in Miami.
Oh, word.
Florida.
My good friends is there. I gotta make sure she hits you up.
Okay. Yeah. Been in Miami for a hot minute now.
I was like,
yeah. Did you stay there after you graduated?
Yeah. Did a few stints in North Carolina, Michigan, Atlanta, but mostly Miami. Yeah, down here.
Yeah.
I'm in New York, guys. I do visit. I haven't been back to Miami I was actually there this past year. I had a layover there and I got stuck in Miami for a day. But that was fun. But yeah, I'm in New York now, and Chef Amanda.
No way. And in sunny Los Angeles, guys.
LA.
Where weed is legal. Thank you, God.
I wanted to give a shout out to all of our sponsors. So thank you to OT Designs. Thank you to Just Call Me Chef. Thank you to Chef Uniforms. And thank you to My Fabulous Foods. So we have some great raffle prizes that we're giving away. One of them I'm really excited about is an intensive food photography course, which I wish I could keep for myself. But My Fabulous Foods is providing a food photography course. And what we're going to do is basically everyone who RSVP, we're using those names for the raffle. So we'll auction off the raffle items at the end of the series. It's a 4-day series, so Thursday will be our last day. So stay tuned for that, and tune in tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. We have a lot more information for you guys. I didn't give you two a chance to talk about yourselves. I wanted to ask you when I introduced you guys to share some information about yourselves. So is there anything you want to share with the viewers?
I feel like y'all know a lot about me now.
Well, we know you have the upcoming projects. Anything else? Chef Alain, Chef Abyssinia?
Upcoming projects. I mean, well, one of the things, I do travel a lot to do private services. So wherever it is, I travel to do the project. And then I'm currently trying to wrap up a cookbook that I've been working on. So hopefully I can get it out soon. That's the major big stage of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Is it gonna be online or?
I want to have the physical. Yeah, the physical. Yeah. So working on that.
That's dope. Congrats on that. That's
Thank
gold
you.
for me. That's where I see myself down the road. Like I started the food blog, and I see myself doing a cookbook later on.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Especially since in the field that we're in, we're always busy. So it's like quarantine has helped me at least knock out half of what I needed to knock out. Right. So
That paperwork is something else, ain't it?
yeah.
Oh my God, I'd rather go cook now. What? I'm still sitting.
So I just got some new information from Chef Amanda. She will be giving away 4 spots to her intensive Zoom cannabis class. So anyone who's watching, everyone who RSVP'd is qualified, but you must be a chef, right?
Yeah, you got like at least an intermediate cook for this one. Otherwise, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck did I sign up for?"
Oh, that's awesome!
We're going straight into marijuana.
That is dope. So thanks for that. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for all of your questions. Please feel free to email me or DM me if you have any other questions. I'm not sure if you guys feel comfortable with that as well. If you want anyone like reaching out to you on Instagram with questions.
Sure.
Yeah,
They can.
email me.
Absolutely.
All right, so stay safe, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow we're talking about pastries. So we're gonna send.
Bye.
Bye, guys.